He found inspiration after observing oysters clinging firmly to a bridge underwater. This observation sparked the idea of developing a bone glue with similar properties in the human body's moist environment, an idea his team eventually turned into a reality. Almost all of our medicines and discoveries come from watching nature. And we have to protect nature so that we can protect ourselves in all the future discoveries. Hello and welcome to Inspired Earth. Happy New Year. And it has been a couple of crazy weeks in the first month of the year. It has felt much longer than a month. And I'm sure everybody is keeping abreast of the situation nationally with what's going on. But today we're just going to talk about some cool science discoveries, like all positive science discoveries, because I think some people need to hear some positivity, and that despite some people trying to do everything that they can to bring down the society in America, basically, and like international law, that still there are people that are working towards good. There's still scientists out there finding cool stuff and discoveries, and we can always take solace in that. And that no matter how difficult things get, there are still people out there trying to find solutions and are finding solutions. So that can never be stopped. And that's something that we can at least all gather around and when we don't have much else left. But so we'll start off here with drinking boiled tap water reduces human intake of nanoplastics and microplastics. Tap water microplastics, NMPs, escaping from centralized water treatment systems are of increasing global concern. Because they pose potential health risks to humans via water consumption, drinking boiled water, an ancient tradition in some Asian countries, is supposedly beneficial for human health, as boiling water can remove some chemicals and most biological substances. However, it remains unclear whether boiling is effective in removing NMPs in tap water. Herein, we present evidence that polystyrene, polyethylene, and polypropylene MMPs can co-precipitate with calcium carbonate incrustance in tap water upon boiling. Boiling hard water can remove at least 80% of polystyrene, polyethylene, and polypropylene NMPs size between 0.1 and 150 nanoscale. Elevated temperatures promote calcium carbonate nucleation in MMPs, resulting in encapsulation and aggregation of NMPs within calcium carbonate incrustance. This simple boiling strategy can decontaminate NMPs from house water and has the potential for harmlessly alleviating human intake of NMPs through water consumption, which is absolutely fascinating. And that came from China. Here we have Science Daily. China's artificial sun just broke a fusion limit scientists thought was unbreakable. Scientists working with China's fully superconducting experimental advanced superconducting tokamak East have successfully reached a long-theorized density-free regime in fusion plasma experiments. In this state, the plasma remains stable even when its density rises far beyond traditional limits. The results published in Science Advances on January 1st shed new light on how one of fusion energy's most stubborn physical barriers might finally be overcome on the road to ignition. The research was co-led by Professor Ping Zhu of Huazhong University of Science and Technology and Associate Professor Ning Yang of Hefei Institute of Physical Science at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, By developing a new density operating approach for yeast, the team showed that plasma density can be pushed well past long-standing empirical limits without triggering the disruptive instability that usually ends experiments. This finding challenges decades of assumptions about how tokamak plasmas behave at high density. And I'm just going to read parts of that one. That was kind of long. This one's also pretty math and sciencey, so I might skip over a little bit parts of it. But a research team from China Agricultural University and Nanyang Technological University reported in eScience that they have developed a copper-modified cobalt oxyhydride catalyst capable of cleanly converting biomass sugar into a format while generating hydrogen at exceptionally high rates when powered by an in-gap gas triple injection photovoltaic device. The work introduces a catalyst-guided cascade oxidation mechanism that substantially reduces energy input, opening new possibilities for integrating solar hydrogen production with sustainable biomass upgrading. This is going to be crazy stuff if they finish this and get it working. This could be really, really big. Using waste to make fuel of all sorts of types, and maybe even cleaning the water and waste as well. So you're left with both water and energy just from cleaning stuff. So that would be amazing. And using the sun. The researchers began comparing Earth-abundant metal oxyhydrides identified as, cobalt oxyhydride, as a promising starting point for glucose oxidation. They then systematically introduced various dopants, which are a small doping agent amount of substance to alter its physical properties, such as electrical or optical properties, which is typically a very low amount compared to the material being doped. They discovered that a small amount of copper transformed cobalt oxyhydride into a far more selective and efficient electrocatalyst. With this modification, the yield of formate increased from 50 to 80%, and the onset potential for glucose oxidation dropped about 400 millivolts, 400 millivolts, enabling highly energy efficient co-electrolysis in alkaline conditions. So this is using sugar to generate electricity, basically. And we're going to talk about another article in a little bit that talks about using sugar for therapy, which is pretty fascinating. That both glucose could give us energy for our electronics and our body, and possibly even more therapies. A suite of advanced characterization techniques, including X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy, electron microscopy, and in situ impedance analysis, reveal how copper reshapes the electronic landscape of the catalyst surface. So I guess they had to image that from all different types of instruments, which is kind of crazy. So it goes into a bunch of math, and it says when paired with an earth-abundant cathode, the system produced pure hydrogen in a membrane-free cell with nearly 100 faradic efficiency under concentrated sunlight. The device achieved a hydrogen generation rate of some amount, maintaining stable performance across 24 hours of operation. So it seems stable. Earlier it said it was a lot. I'm not really sure how to read that math thing. I really don't. But they said it was a lot. One of the study's senior researchers noted that the findings illustrate how the catalyst design can reshape both efficiency and economics of solar hydrogen production. By orchestrating glucose oxidation through highly selective alpha cleavage pathway, the catalyst not only reduces the electrical energy required but simultaneously upgrades biomass into a valuable chemical feedstock. This is what I was talking about of using waste for fuel. This dual function system, the expert emphasizes, represents a pivotal shift towards more integrated and cost-effective renewable hydrogen technologies, demonstrating the sustainable chemistry and clean energy generation can be mutually reinforcing. This co-electrolysis strategy offers a scalable and economically competitive route to green hydrogen by pairing energy-efficient operation with the sale of a formate as a co-product. Economic modeling suggests that this approach could lower the level of cost of hydrogen to $1.54 per kilogram, rivaling or undercutting hydrogen produced from fossil fuels. Undercutting fossil fuels. The membrane-free design also simplifies the system architecture and reduces capital costs, making industrial deployment more feasible. Importantly, the catalyst performs equally well on hydrosolates derived from agricultural waste, highlighting its compatibility with real-world biomass resources and its potential to support distributed hydrogen production and future circular bioeconomy systems. That's pretty fascinating. And I'm glad that they're looking into this. I'm pretty sure I had talked about that exact sort of thing like a year and a half ago. I mean, just by connecting the dots and stuff. Obviously, they were looking at it as well, I think. It doesn't say how long they were working on it, I don't think. But probably working on it a long time. So this one's really, really fascinating. I enjoyed this one because I enjoy coffee. I'm sure a lot of other people enjoy coffee. This was brewing possibilities using caffeine to edit gene expression from physics.org. What if a cup of coffee could help treat cancer? Researchers at the Texas A&M Health Institute of Biosciences and Technology believe it's possible. So this is the first American article that we're reading. Everything else has been from China, which is pretty interesting. I mean, they graduated, like 1.5 million engineers last year, and we graduated like 100,000 or something. So I would say that the race between the two countries is over. Like China has won, but it's still cool that we have technology coming out of America. So let's hear what our American colleagues have to say. By combining caffeine with the use of CRISPR, a gene editing tool known as clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, scientists are unlocking new treatments for long-term diseases, like cancer and diabetes, using a strategy known as chemogenetics. This work is published in the Journal of Chemical Science. Yubin Zhao, professor at the Center for Translational Cancer Research at the Institute of Biosciences and Technology, specializes in utilizing groundbreaking tools and technology to study medicine at the cellular, epigenetic, and genetic levels. That's fascinating. Throughout his career in over 180 publications, he has sought answers to medical questions by using highly advanced tools like CRISPR and chemogenetic control systems. Chemogenetics refers to the ability to control cellular behavior using externally applied small molecules, often drugs or dietary compounds, that activate genetically engineered switches inside cells. Unlike traditional drugs that broadly affect many tissues, chemogenetic approaches are designed to act only as the cells that have been genetically programmed to respond. Gene editing with a kick. Zhu's newest research builds on existing knowledge of genetic switches within cells by introducing a new chemogenic approach that uses CRISPR and caffeine. This process begins with installing the cells in advance. Genes encoded the nanobody. Its matching target protein and the CRISPR machinery are delivered using established gene transfer methods, allowing cells to produce these components on their own. So they're editing the cells. Once this molecular framework is in place, the process can be externally controlled. When a person later consumes a 20 milligram dose of caffeine, such as from coffee, chocolate, or a soda, it triggers a nanobody and its matching target protein to bind together, thereby activating CRISPR-driven gene modifications inside the cell. So they're inactive until the patient gets the caffeine. This method also allows scientists to activate T cells, something not possible with other gene editing methods. T cells serve as the body's memory bank for the past infections, storing blueprints that help fight future threats. Being able to manually activate these cells could give researchers a new way to direct the immune system against specific diseases. In addition, the team found that certain drugs can reverse the process by causing the proteins to separate, stopping further gene changes and offering even more control over how the system is used, an important feature for safe and reversible chemogenetic therapies. For example, in a therapeutic settings, clinicians could temporarily pause gene-modifying activity to give patients a break from treatment-related stress or side effects, then reactivate the system when conditions are optimal, allowing gene control to be tuned over time rather than left permanently switched on. You can also engineer these antibody-like molecules to work with rapamycin-induced systems. So by adding a different drug like rapamycin, you can achieve the opposite effect, Zhao said. For example, if at first proteins A and B are separate, adding caffeine brings them together. Conversely, if proteins A and B start out together, adding a drug like rapamycin can cause them to dissociate. Rapamycin is a widely available immunosuppressant drug traditionally used as an anti-rejection regime for organ transplants. The drug works by blocking white blood cells from attacking foreign entities in the body. The affordability and availability of the drug make it prime candidate for applications like this one. Percolating future possibilities. When an engineered nanoprotein can be switched on by caffeine, it's called a caffabody. By harnessing the power of these caffabodies, Zhao says scientists may someday be able to treat a range of diseases. In the long term, he believes it may be possible to engineer cells that allow people with diabetes to boost insulin production by simply drinking a cup of coffee. Beyond insulin, the technology can be adapted to control other important molecules, such as those that power T cells. In cancer therapy, for example, caffabodies could be built into T cells to give doctors chemogenic control over when, where, and how strongly the immune system attacks tumors. In animal lab studies, Zhao and his team have found that caffeine, as well as its metabolites, such as theobromine, which is abundantly available from chocolate or cocoa, could trigger the response and allow for editing with CRISPR. This form of treatment is accessible, easier to control, and has fewer side effects than other treatments. While similar activation techniques have been observed before, this allows much more control to open and close the circuit. When caffeine is introduced, the team has a few hours or the metabolization time of caffeine to control the involved physiological process of gene editing. Then, rapamycin can be administered as a stop signal, driving protein dissociation and terminating the process. Few existing approaches offer this level of coordinated start and stop control, making the method particularly precise and well-suited for both research and therapeutic applications. And I just have to say super quick that we're talking about chocolate and cocoa and tea and coffee and all of this stuff. These are all parts of nature that we're using to find medical treatments and discoveries. So it's very important for us to protect the environment, because there could be things in the environment that we can find discoveries through, stuff that we would never even imagine. So all of these species that they're saying will be going extinct because of climate change, we might be losing way more than just the species. We might be losing possibly cures for cancer, or there's another one that's going to be talked about in this episode that comes from oysters. So protecting species on the earth and the biodiversity of the earth is important for many reasons, if not just for inspiration of technological discoveries. Because if it wasn't for tea or coffee, we wouldn't have this, which is kind of crazy. Let me find where I was. It's quite modular, Zhao said. You can integrate it into CRISPR and chimeric antigen receptor, CAR T cells, and also if you want to induce some therapeutic gene expression like insulin or other things, and this is fully tunable in a very precise, controlled manner. Zhao and his team hope to advance the work into further preclinical studies and explore more ways to utilize CAFI bodies and CRISPR for treating a wide range of medical conditions, bringing everyday molecules one step closer to becoming tools for precision medicine, which is pretty crazy. What excites us is the idea of repurposing well-known drugs and even commonly found food ingredients like caffeine to do entirely new tricks. Instead of acting as therapies themselves, molecules like caffeine or rapamycin can serve as precise control signals for sophisticated cell and gene therapies. Because these compounds are already well understood, this approach opens a practical path towards translation. Our hope is one day clinicians could use simple, familiar inputs to finely tune powerful therapies in a safe and reversible way. That's pretty crazy. So this is also good news. MedicalExpress.com, previously unknown bacterial component in kidney stone formation has been discovered by University of California, Los Angeles. In an unexpected finding, a UCLA-led team has discovered that bacteria are present inside the most common types of kidney stone, revealing a previously unrecognized component involving their formation. The findings, to be published in the Journal of Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, point to the possible therapeutic target that could be used for prevention and treatment for millions of people who are affected by the frequently painful condition. This breakthrough challenges the long-held assumption that these stones develop solely through chemical and physiological processes, and instead shows that bacteria can reside inside stones and may actively contribute to their formation, said Dr. Kamora Scotland, an associate professor of urology at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA and the study's co-senior author. By uncovering this novel mechanism, the study opens the door to new therapeutic strategies that target the microbial environment of kidney stones. Kidney stones are composed of clumps of small crystals. Their prevalence has risen globally in recent years, so that today about 1 in 11 people will get them in their lifetime. Risk factors including family history, metabolic syndrome, and low fluid intake, the stones start forming when crystals grow in urine and become large enough that they can't be washed out with normal flow. There are several subsets of kidney stones, and while one rare type is known to contain bacteria, by far the most common stone is calcium oxalate, comprising 80% of kidney stone cases, which have not previously known to contain bacteria, this is the key part. So they had no idea about this. While examining data from electron and fluorescence microscopy, the researchers unexpectedly detected live bacteria as well as layers or biofilms of bacteria integrated into the crystals. That's pretty bizarre and crazy that this has never been found before. We found a new mechanism of stone formation that may help to explain why these stones are so common. These results may help to explain the connections between recurrent urinary tract infections and recurrent kidney stones, and provide insight on potential future treatment of these conditions. The findings suggest that bacteria could also be involved in other kidney stone types. The study focused on calcium-based stones. However, other common stones form is still in question. I can't even talk. How other less common stones form is still in question. More studies are needed to fully understand how bacteria and calcium-based kidney stones interact. The researchers conclude, our multi-institutional team is currently performing studies to determine how bacteria and calcium-based kidney stones interact. We want to understand exactly what makes some patients particularly susceptible to recurrent stone formation and what it is about these particular species of bacteria that allows them to nucleate these stones. That's pretty insane. That blew my mind. I know people that are affected by recurrent kidney stones. It's like debilitating, and they just keep on coming back. So anybody who has experienced that is going to be very, very, very happy. And that was January 26th. So here we go. New antibiotic treatment reawakens immune system to fight pancreatic cancer. SciTech Daily. And here we go with the glucose therapy that I was talking about, how earlier with the solar co-electrolysis process converts biomass to green hydrogen. They were talking about using glucose. And here we are talking about using glucose again. A new study explains how pancreatic tumors use a sugar coating to hide from the immune system and shows that a newly developed antibody can restore immune responses in mice. Pancreatic cancer remains one of the most difficult cancers to treat and frequently does not respond to even the latest immunotherapy approaches. Researchers at Northwestern Medicine have identified a previously unknown reason for this resistance. They found the pancreatic tumors shield themselves from immune attack by using a sugar-based signal that effectively tells immune cells not to respond. The team also developed an antibody treatment designed to interrupt this protective signal. In a study published in Cancer Research, the researchers detailed this mechanism for the first time and demonstrated that blocking it with monoclonal antibodies restores immune activity against pancreatic cells in preclinical mouse models. It took our team about 6 years to uncover this novel mechanism, develop the right antibodies, and test them. Seeing it work was a major breakthrough. The study was recently published in the journal Cancer Research, turning the immune system back on. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most lethal forms of cancer. It is frequently detected in an advanced stage, has limited treatment options, and carries a 5-year survival rate of only 13%. Unlike several other cancers, it also shows strong resistance to immunotherapy that are effective elsewhere. Within pancreatic tumors, immune responses are usually dampened. We set out to learn why and whether we could flip that environment so immune cells attack tumor cells instead of ignoring or even helping them. The researchers discovered that pancreatic tumors take advantage of a natural protective mechanism used by healthy cells. Under normal circumstances, cells display a sugar called sialic-acid on their surface to signal the immune system, don't harm me. The team found pancreatic tumors misuse this system by attaching the same type of sugar to a surface protein known as integrin alpha-3 beta-1, I think. This sugar-coated protein can then bind to a receptor on immune cells called sialic-10, effectively delivering a misleading signal that tells the immune system to stand down. In short, the tumor sugarcoats itself, a classic wolf in sheep's clothing move to escape immune surveillance, Abdel Mohsen explained. Once they discovered this novel hiding mechanism, the Northwestern scientists developed monoclonal antibodies that blocked it. When they used these antibodies in the lab and in 2 animal models, immune cells woke up and began eating cancer cells. Tumors in treated mice grew significantly slower than untreated controls. Making those antibodies was no small feat. When you make an antibody, you test what it's called hybridomas, cells that produce antibodies. We screened thousands before finding one that worked. The next step, he said, is to combine the antibody with current chemotherapy and immunotherapy treatments. There's a strong scientific rationale to believe combination therapy will allow us to reach our ultimate goal, a full remission. We don't want only a 40% tumor reduction or slowing down. We want to remove the cancer cells altogether. Abdel Mohsen said his team is now fine-tuning the antibody for human use and moving toward early safety and dosing studies. In parallel, they're testing it in combination with chemotherapy and immunotherapy and developing a companion test to identify which patients' tumors rely on this sugar-based pathway so clinicians can match the right people to the right therapy. Abdel Mohsen estimates it might take about 5 years before such a therapy could be available to patients if progress continues as planned. Beyond pancreatic cancer, the findings could have broader implications. We're now asking whether the same sugar coat trick shows up in other hard-to-treat cancers, such as glioblastoma and non-cancer diseases where the immune system is misled. Abdel Mohsen's lab focuses on growing a field of glycoimmunology, which is new to me. I've never really heard of that, which studies how sugars regulate the immune system. We're just scratching the surface of this field. Here at Northwestern, we're positioned to turn these sugar-based insights into real treatment of cancer, infectious disease, and age-related conditions. That's pretty cool. And here we have one from 2025, but I don't think I covered it. You might have heard about it before. Still, it's cool. It's short, so I'll just read it real quick. China introduces new bone glue inspired by oysters for fast fracture repairing. A Chinese research team in East China Xinjiang province unveiled an innovative product called Bone 2. Bone glue on Wednesday. Inspired by oysters, this glue can treat fractures with a single injection and bond shattered bone fragments in 3 minutes. The team leader, Lin Zhangfang, an associate chief orthopedic surgeon at Sir Run Shah Hospital, affiliated with renowned Xinjiang University, said the adhesive can achieve precise fixation within 2 to 3 minutes, even in a blood-rich environment. In one trial case, the procedure was completed in less than 3 minutes. Whereas traditional treatment would have required a large incision to implant steel plates and screws. Laboratory tests confirmed the Bone 2 performed strongly in both safety and effectiveness. It demonstrated that maximum bonding force of over 400 pounds, a shear strength of about 0.5 MPa, and compressive strength of around 10 MPa. I don't know what that unit is. These properties suggest it has the potential to replace traditional metal implants, while also reducing the risk of foreign body reactions and infections. Another feature of Bone 2 is that it can be naturally absorbed by the body as the bone heals, eliminating the need for second surgery to remove implants. In 2016, while still a resident physician, Lin observed that even the most experienced surgeons needed hours in the operating room to fix shattered bone fragments, and the results were often far from ideal. Drawing on clinical experience and research, Lin decided to lead a term to develop a bone glue. He found inspiration after observing oysters clinging firmly to a bridge underwater. This observation sparked the idea of developing a bone glue with similar properties in the human body's moist environment, an idea his team eventually turned into a reality, the report said. So, again, like almost all of our medicines and discoveries come from watching nature. And we have to protect nature so that we can protect ourselves in all the future discoveries. But we needed some positivity and to show that let's even just assuming that America has no scientific potential or future for several decades, the rest of the world will continue to advance and bring technologies and treatments that will blow our minds. And I have confidence as well that America will turn around at some point, and everybody just try to stay strong and know that there's a lot of people all working towards good right now, and we need you guys to be one of them and get organized, get inspired, get angry, really, because we need as many people out there as possible. So, all right. I'll be releasing some more stuff soon. I've wanted to put out something positive because I've got some crazy stuff coming, and I'll keep on finding more positive stuff to put out there. So, thank you.